All right, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. So let's take a look at when my last video was posted. I think it's been a while. All right, so my last video was, oops, and I gotta go to my channel. It was posted 10 days ago. Yeah, so I'm really having trouble staying in the game with mathematics for machine learning. It's interesting. I like it. I just feel like it's a bit much, and it's not super relevant to my current career. I feel like a lot of this is gonna change dramatically going forward, and I just don't feel like it's a good um, thing to do for the channel, and we can see that's evident because of how bad I've been about making consistent videos. When I'm really like found the right thing to make content about, I don't struggle with consistency uh, compared to when I'm making content that becomes dry or is irrelevant or I have trouble paying attention to or kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So let me do a quick sound check. Hopefully it's okay. Oh, you know what? I think I can. Yeah, okay. I'll bring that up. That should be a lot better. So I'm gonna move on. We can see one of my playlists is the Agile Learning Institute. If we look at the full playlist for this, um, I read through the getting hired section of the Odin project. I have live mentoring sessions on there. So that's a nonprofit open source project. I could definitely work towards that. That would be really good. Um, uh, that would be really really good actually. In fact, you know what? I think I'm gonna do that for this video. Let's do that right here right now. So um, I'm going to do a code review. So we can see I've got the ALI, Agile Learning Institute, your ally. It's bookmarked here. And then in one of the repositories, I have I have, uh, uh, I have a review assigned to me for this open source project. So this is meant to be a pretty comprehensive web plat. Well, let's see what it's meant to be. So this is for Mentor Hub, and Mentor Hub is a cloud platform that supports the needs of staff members, mentors, partners, and donors. It's to give apprentices real world experience working in modern cloud computing environment and exposure to full design, build, run SDL with QA controls, CI/CD automations. So this is it's like a sandbox for mentors and mentees to get real world hands on experience in, and it's more than just that. It's also a it's meant to be. You can get a bit grandiose with it and kind of think of it as almost like LinkedIn, but instead of connecting your coworkers together, it's for sharing knowledge, kind of like a Facebook centered around sharing skills rather than just poking your friends. But that's pretty grandiose. Where it is now, it's still very much in development, which is good news for people who want to contribute. We can see we've got 6 contributors. I am not one of those contributors yet, so this is a good thing for me to do, because then I can actually put down that I made an open source contribution. All right, so let's read about contributing to the platform. So the prerequisites are to familiarize yourself with the product roadmap to understand release plans. The next thing to do is to review the architecture principles to understand the guiding principles for the architecture. Then to review the architecture diagrams to understand the architecture. Then to review the CI/CD configurations to understand how code is deployed. And then to install Mentor Hub Developer Edition to run the system or any portion of it locally. So let's go through these prerequisites and then move on to the workflow. All right, so the first prerequisite is understanding the Mentor Hub specifications. So the Mentor Hub platform serves the needs of staff, members, mentors, partners, and donors. The system's primary purpose is to give apprentices real-world experience working in a modern computing environment, and the full design, build, run SDLC, which stands for Software Development Lifecycle, for a cloud-native platform. As the primary purpose of this platform is to provide experience to apprentices, we are taking an SRE, Site Reliability Engineering, first approach to start by building out a realistic developer experience. We have a head start, and many developer experiences are actually ready to run. The roadmap below identifies that a significant portion of the SRE first now scope has been completed, and while some effort has been put into polishing the hills in the next scope, items in the later scope are largely placeholders for ideas that are partially captured. Now, SRE first. Okay, so let's read this. So this says now SRE first, and it's a series of checkboxes. The first one is Sam, the software engineer, reads a repo Readme and can easily set up their local development environment, build and locally test their code with local backing services. Next, Sam, and this looks like something that the main developers and contributors of this repo has checked off that is now the case. Another thing that's checked off is Sam, the software engineer, approves a pull request and merges a feature branch into the main branch, and then multi-architecture containers are built and deployed into a container registry. Then Suri, the SRE, deploys a database management container, and then schema constraints and migrations are executed when database configuration updates are required. Then Suri, the SRE, opens an admin view in a SPA, and I don't know what an SPA is. Let's look it up. So it's probably not a spa. So ChatGPT is wonderful for this, so let's use it. Okay, so paste in the screenshot and then ask it, what does the acronym SPA mean in this context? What does the acronym SPA mean in this context? Okay, so it means single page application. A single page application is a web application or website that interacts with the user by dynamically rewriting the current page rather than loading entire new pages from a server. This approach improves performance and provides a smoother user experience, as the application can dynamically update parts of the page as needed without requiring a full page upload. Perfect. So yeah, ChatGPT, very, very good for that sort of thing. And now we can use Google in the way that it's good for, and search for the keywords that are relevant. SPA is not a good keyword to search for because you'll get false positives for spa. And now we get the Wikipedia article, which is usually a good place to start. All right. Well, there's a lot in there. I think the gist of it. Well, this will be a good one for like Anki. Like what is an SPA? You know what? I want to use Anki more in my life. I feel like I should use Anki more than I am using it. I'm basically not using it. But anyway, moving on. So we know a single page application. So Siri, the SRE, opens an admin view in a single page application, and then they can review versions of different components of the system, configuration values, and other information helpful during incident response. Tanya, the tester, issues a single bash command, and then the solution is available for local testing. Okay, and then these are not checked off. So a new container is deployed to a registry and tagged for the dev environment, and then the development environment deploys the new container. Siri, the SRE, documents the infrastructure for an environment and runs a script, and then a new cloud environment is provisioned and configured to deploy images with a unique tag. Siri, the SRE, runs a promote runbook, and then a new tag is associated with images that contain another tag. For example, got a misspelling here, but it should say promote all current dev containers to test. All right, so that's now that's currently what's being worked on. Then there's next, and then there's later. So this is one thing that was mentioned to do, is to familiar yourself with the product roadmap to understand the plans. So these are important. Looks like a new container is deployed to registry and tagged for the dev environment, and then the development environment deploys the new container. That's the next thing on the agenda. But after all these are then this will be, once the platform is kind of more live, the mentor collaborates with the apprentice to update their curriculum, and then the system suggests content and warns if the work assigned exceeds the member's committed capacity. Suggestions can be based on the following factors: current skills in the topic, desired specialty, member goals. Mentor reviews a self-assessment with a member, and then current skills are validated and incorporated into the curriculum creation process. Member uses the system to follow along on their curriculum, and then the system can automatically keep track of progress and time commitments, improving the quality of resource information and adjusting the velocity of the member. Member researches target employers and finds a dream job description, and then the system guides them through a process to create goals that would build the perfect dream job resume. Yeah, so this is a good one. This was actually kind of an idea I had for a while that I brought up in a brainstorming session, and the idea is, wouldn't it be great if you had, because this is what they tell you when it comes to making a resume. You'll often hear, put numbers in your resume. Like, a bad resume would be, I worked the cashier at Target for 6 months. But a good resume would be, I increased sales velocity at Target by 10% and got promoted to the CEO. Like in my experience, a lot of the advice for like how to write a resume is like really like tone deaf, because it's basically like you want to say like it's like I didn't do that when I worked, at a hot dog stand. Like I didn't increase the velocity by 22% and serve 1.8 million people a hot dog, thereby cementing my role in the company as a leading contributor in the top 2.5% of all hot dog salesmen, leading to my promotion as the CEO of the hot dog stand. Like that didn't happen. So like I've that's been my frustration with advice for how to write a resume is they want you to use numbers. Well, do you have those numbers? Are you coming up with them? Like, how do you track those numbers? How do you make sure they're accurate? They seem like, it seems like the accuracy of like what you actually did is like not as important as like using numbers to try to like deceive and manipulate. And maybe that's true. It probably is easier to get hired if you deceive and manipulate, but for a lot of people, they didn't do that. Like they didn't even know you had to do that. And like this idea that like everyone improves company efficiency by 2.2% and secures their place in the top 1.4% of regional sales associates, thereby earning their promotion to CEO of the company. Like that doesn't happen for most people. So wouldn't it be great if for whatever job you wanted to get, say you've heard it's lucrative to be a data scientist, say like whatever job you're trying to get, and for this particular purpose, we need to narrow the scope, because you could be working forever and not crack the surface. But like what would you need on your resume to be the perfect candidate for the job? Like let's start there. Like let's say let's start with ChatGPT. So let's say I want to get hired. Okay, so I want to get hired to a career in IT. Make me a list of the 5 most desirable roles in IT. Okay, so now we can take our pick. So we've got a cloud solutions architect. Let's do that one. Yeah. Okay, so now for a cloud solutions architect, give me 3 resume bullet points that would undoubtedly impress any hiring manager. Okay, so now this is the idea. Wouldn't it be great if you had any of these 3 on your resume? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, this is the system we're building. We're designing a system that basically gives you those, kind of like unlocking an achievement in a video game by working on the system. So you get on Mentor Hub, you do the things on Mentor Hub, and by the time you're done, you designed and implemented a multi-cloud infrastructure utilizing AWS and Azure, and you volunteered for a company and reduced their infrastructure costs by whatever, while reducing their outages by whatever, and scaling up their business to handle to handle a 200% increase in user traffic. Like you went to your local church, you went, you just found some rando on Craigslist, you found I'm trying to keep things PG, but you found somebody who uses a computer and who needs you to improve their experience using the computer. And you now you have so this is what it does. It gives you this dream job resume by giving you these achievements you can unlock. So another one would be you spearheaded the migration of on-premises infrastructure to the cloud, leveraging infrastructure as code to automate deployment, resulting in a 50% faster provisioning times and improved operational efficiency. So you wouldn't get exactly this. You know, it would fill in the blanks with what you actually did through your participation in this platform, this Mentor Hub platform. By the time it's said and done, you know, the platform has laid out for you a 2-month plan where you did that. Like your local church, your whatever, you name it, just some random business, freelance work, just your own personal website. You have a cloud. You know, the platform itself, a Mentor Hub itself. You added a new feature to it. You know, did something. So it facilitates that. You know, it's there to spell it all out. So yeah, that's the idea behind that, and I think it's a good idea. All right, so the next one is Mentor selects a script for an encounter, and then easily records notes about the encounter in the member's profile, and updates their curriculum for the coming period. So Sari, the SRE, runs a runbook script, and then services from one environment are promoted to another. Sari, the SRE, reviews a Prometheus/Grafana monitoring portal, including health information from system APIs, and then they can view performance and throughput metrics to support incident response. Sam, the software engineer, creates black box testing for their components, and then they can be more confident in the performance of their code, and they can provide a starting place for the SQA, so I think that means software quality assurance team, to build automated end-to-end testing. And let me check that. I'm pretty sure that is what it means. But you know, we live in the world of ChatGPT, so let's use that. All right. How about SQA? What does that stand for? Software quality assurance. Yeah. All right. So, and then the last thing in the near future will be any user confirms that they want their data removed, and then their account is deleted, and any personal identifying information related to their identity is removed from the system in compliance with the EU General Data Protection Regulations, GDPR. So you got to remember, if you're having a global platform, there's going to be different rules and regulations, different parts of the world. So you need your platform to be compliant in all places that the platform is meant to run. All right, so then much later on the agenda, kind of mentor/mentees get to collaborate in real time on the best curriculum. Member signs up on Squarespace, and then their information is added to the Mentor Hub databases, and welcome aboard email is sent that includes instructions on how to schedule introduction meeting and how to get a user ID for the system. Apollo the apprentice clicks a button and is presented a tooling report with links to any failing or needed software or hardware or software issues to address. Members achieve a level of competency, and we issue digital certifications, GitHub usage stats on search dashboard, and that could tie in potentially with other sorts of certifications as well. I've done the LPIC on my channel. I recently passed the Essentials. I'm a networking guy, so I've done the JNCI ESP. I attempted it and failed it, and I've successfully earned the CCNP, although it is now expired. My CCNA is still live though. So there's plenty of certifications out there. All kinds of certifications, thousands and thousands of certifications out there, so it could tie in with any of those. Then SRE, the SRE, uses a Discord bot and names a domain, source environment, and target environment, and then the containers for that domain are promoted from the source environment to the destination environment. Any user opens a chatbot in the system and receives support on how to use the system and receives guidance on assignment or other questions. Humanity does education revolution, and then people are empowered to create value. Major progress toward the biggest problems: climate, war, unsafe AI. So yeah, that's a big one. Khan Academy has tried to do that. A lot of people have tried to do that, but it's comes with a set of challenges for sure. And I'm curious. I'm going to have a brief discussion with the AI about that, because I do have a lot of thoughts about that, so let's get those out of the way. But let's finish reading this up and then have a broader discussion. So the next goal of this platform is the tech industry does Swiss Army knife professionals, and then AI is implemented and integrated in ways never seen before. So that's kind of a big one as well. Is, as this stuff becomes more sophisticated, you can't be an expert in everything. And then as AI becomes better and better, you don't need to be. Like, the AI will be plenty expert enough. So what becomes really valuable is to be able to tie things together to implement AI in new and novel ways, and to have kind of a broader grasp on what constitutes many different areas of technology, so you can bring things together. I'm a little bit of the opinion that becoming a really deep, high level expert is going to become less and less important, because it's like, become a deep, high level expert in what? By the time you've done that in one thing, it'll take you 10, 20 years, and you don't really have time to move on to other things. Now, to some extent, depth is breadth, so the more of an expert you get at something, the more your general knowledge base broadens as well. So it's always a good option to become a high-level expert. I'll always say that makes sense. But we could get to a point where AI is the high-level expert, and that it becomes less valuable for humans to fill that role. Okay, so next is mentor does mentorship, and then mentee gains confidence and experience. But again, becoming a high-level expert in anything, even things as kind of innocuous as like bodybuilding, violin playing, juggling, it just shows a lot. You have to have a certain lifestyle to achieve, a PhD or something. And oftentimes that lifestyle is kind of the right way to live. It's like, you're spending your days really challenging yourself and not getting into trouble, hitting the books, doing the exercises, putting in the work. That's it, in my experience, that's a good way to live. So the commons, the public, have access to open and accessible education and career training that has lots of value, and then closes talent gap. Mentors and mentees meet in virtual reality, and then remote work and virtual workspaces become a place where people can collaborate more effectively and express themselves more fully. That would be a big one. I feel like there's a lot of unsolved challenges with remote work, especially when it comes to communication and context, and I think it's harder to give people the benefit of the doubt and give people second chances and kind of, bring people onto the same page. Remote, it's so much easier just to kind of let things go by unaddressed, to just let things fall apart, to just ignore things, put things off. Remote, there's a lot of challenges to remote work that are real and not just companies wanting to maintain their real estate investments. And that's exciting to me because I feel like there's a lot of room for discovery there. All right, so last section of this is integrations. Marketing can use data to create graphs and easily identify and define trends. Marketing does email campaigns. I think this is spelled wrong. Nope, it's spelled right. AdWords campaigns others. Marketing member clicks a button and then donor receipts are sent out. Accounts and ledgers provide all needed documentation for tax purposes. Accounts and ledgers provide meaningful metrics to the board. Accountant is able to easily track spending and expenses in an easy and transparent way to share with a board. Finance does end of year receipts, taxes, payroll reporting. Accounts and ledgers import and reconcile with bank statements. So there we go. That's the roadmap. That's the first prerequisite for contributing to the platform. So really important to read that. And that is what I did. I got that done. So let's see the time. Okay, half an hour. So I probably won't go through all of the prerequisites, but let's see how far I can get. All right, so this next section is Mentor Hub architecture principles. It's a prerequisite to contributing. The first part is, what is a microservice? While there is no single definition for microservices, a consensus view has evolved over time in the industry. Microservices are small in size, messaging enabled, bounded by context, autonomously developed, independently deployable, decentralized, and built and released with automated processes. And there's a misspelling there. The microservice principles used by the Mentor Hub platform are this. And let me actually fix the misspellings. I think that's something that Mike Story, who's been acting as my career mentor, thankfully, which is great. I need that. Has said that me pointing that out is helpful. So let's not let those misspellings go by if I see them. And some of these, I guess you know what? I guess I'd rather focus on the big picture. Misspellings kind of don't matter. It doesn't really demonstrate anything. It's just not a very good contribution this early on in the game. Later, it is important to have those misspellings, but that's kind of the editing. The rough draft can have misspellings. It's just if you're missing chapter 6, that's the problem. So, all right. So the microservice principles, and this will get corrected later. That's okay. For now, I just want to finish these prerequisites. And then I want to finish a review of a pull request. So the microservice principles used by the Mentor Hub platform are the 12-factor application guides, operations in microservice architectures, separation of concerns, development contracts, event-driven design patterns, service granularity, service configurability, service disposability, service observability. All right, so the 12 factor app. The book The 12 Factor App by Adam Wiggins has often been cited as a seminal work in microservice architectures. Here is a quick review of the factors and how we are implementing them. Number 1, codebase. A single codebase deployed multiple times, reusable at the executable level. Orchestrated containers built once and promoted between environments. Number 2, dependencies. Declarative, not implied. Use private pip, npm, NuGet, Maven packages to share code between repo. Number 3, configuration. Describe the environment in the environment. Configuration values from environment variables. See service configurability, and there's a typo there, but we're going to focus on the big picture. Number 4, of 12, so the fourth factor is backing services. Treat as attached by the platform. Containerized backing services support local development environment. Orchestrated infrastructure provides backing services with K8s at runtime. So K8s are Kubernetes containers, I think. Well, let's do a sanity check. So we'll paste in both of these. Okay, I have 2 questions for you. First of all, the easy one, K8, does that stand for Kubernetes containers? What does that mean in this context? And then I want to have a deeper, more philosophical discussion with you about what it means to take on the problem outlined in the bullet point or the checkbox on there that you know, about the education revolution. Okay, so yep, stands for Kubernetes for sure. So yeah, K8s at runtime. These are containers. And you can use like Docker Compose as well. There's other things, but this platform uses Kubernetes. All right, yeah, and this is what's interesting is the education revolution, a philosophical discussion. Yeah, so humanity does education revolution, and then people are empowered to create value. Major progress towards the biggest problems occurs. Climate, war, unsafe AI. Yeah, these are big ones. There's actually a really good website. I hope my viewers, I want my viewers to know about this. It'd be great if I could get a sponsorship by them. Oh man, getting sponsors for my channel would be so cool. If I could get this kind of sponsors I want. I would definitely try to get a sponsor from 80,000 hours. So 80,000 hours basically assesses all areas that you can work in, or as many as they possibly can. It's based on 10 years of research at Oxford, a very prestigious school. And they create a ranking of what makes the most sense for you to devote your career to. Like how are you going to best serve the world by devoting your life to this cause? Which causes are the most worthy of your time? So if we click start here, they'll explain that methodology, and then yeah, so you can do their career plan and come up with their career guide, and they have a list of high impact career paths. So let's just skip right to that. So yeah, one of the biggest ones is AI governance and policies. You know, what if the AI told me, you know, KYS, you're stupid every time I ask it a question? That would be a disaster. AI can either lead us into a new wonders of the world, a new utopia, or it can really maximize what are known as S risks, which is a state of living through suffering, or X risks, which are more easily easy to think about, which is just, humanity destroys itself. So making sure that AI serves in the greater good is a really badly needed thing right now. Yeah, and then biorisk, of course. We all know we're all personally impacted by COVID-19, so preventing the next pandemics, H1N5 is actually on the rise right now, and there's pandemics are always going to be a major existential risk. If coronavirus is as bad as it was, it could pale in comparison to the next one. So being able to research that, strategize, and craft policies is really, really highly impactful, worth your time, worth your career, a good place to go into. And this is an interesting one. So number 4 is information security in high impact areas. So that's something I could probably shift my career into pretty easily based on where my career has been so far. So I might want to look into this later during my own time. But anyway, yeah, that's the point. Is a lot of other agencies have been working on this sort of thing, and it's I'm sure something to do with education is on here. Let's search for it. Okay, so I think they take a pretty negative approach towards education, which is kind of ironic because a lot of these people are Stanford educated. Brian Kaplan himself, very interesting figure with a lot of he was educated at Princeton and Berkeley, so a lot of kind of advice that people would never really take themselves. Yeah, so they take kind of a negative approach towards education in general, which is kind of ironic. So that's something to reconcile when it comes to this project here, because this project kind of is, it's stated in the roadmap that the education revolution, it wants to be part of a broader education revolution, which I think is fair to predict because of the impact of AI. I think AI will cause a education revolution. Having your own personal tutor is a complete game changer. So many times in school, I just was not ready to move on. I had questions, and I did not get the opportunity to ask any of my questions, let alone have them answered. And the few times I did get to ask them and get answers, the answers were not satisfactory. So to be able to talk to all-powerful and intelligent AI, for me, is a complete game changer. And I'm sure it will be for most other people as well. All right, so got kind of sidetracked there because we were looking up this acronym and then backtracked to have a broader discussion about some of the wider goals of this platform that will be years down the line. Right now, it's just all about the basic nuts and bolts. The what is the first part of a ship that is built? So right now, it's the keel. We're laying the keel. So, what does it mean to lay the keel? So it's a term from shipbuilding, and it's the act of placing the first structural element of the ship's hull into position. You have to do that before you do anything else. So that's where we're at right now with this project. Another principle of the 12-factor app, and this is part, which kind of keel do we lay, right? Do we lay a microservices keel? Do we lay a mono repo like Google does? Do we do something other than that? And it has been chosen already. The keel has already been laid of microservices, and part of the reason is because of this book, the 12-factor app. So let's finish reading about these 12 factors. The fifth factor is build, release, run. Simple delivery pipeline consisting of only build, release, run. CI pipeline should be very simple and standardized by technology. Change management is accomplished with container image tagging. Number 6, process designed and deployed as stateless processes. Dockerized means stateless. Okay. Number 7 is concurrency, scaled by adding processes. Process containers are scaled by Kubernetes. Port binding, all the Docker file configurations expose only one port. Disposability, fast startup and shutdown of processes containers. Build containers with precompiled bytecode when possible. Disposability also has implications for service granularity. Number 10 is parity. A dev, test, prod should be as similar as possible. Infrastructure as code used to deploy infrastructure for an environment. Dev, test, prod, etc. Infrastructure then deploys containers based on and there's a mistake there, matching image tag, but it doesn't change the meaning. And then SRE automation is used to add a tag to an image based on an existing tag. In this way, a container can be promoted from one environment to the next. This can also be used to, and another mistake there, should say deploy instead of deployed, the new system to a new just-in-time environment for use in training, sales, or other purposes. Number 11 is logs. Write event streams to standard out. Allow the platform to consume/manage them. We will use AWS OpenSearch as a log aggregation platform. Number 12 is admin. Treat deployment configurations as code in a repository with change history. Kubernetes, Terraform, Argo CI all use configuration as code pattern. So that's the 12-factor app. So the next one is operations in microservice architectures. And I need a quick break. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm usually good for a solid hour. Let's move on to the next principle, which is operations in cloud native world. In the book Cloud Adoption Playbook, written by a team of IBM distinguished engineers, they identified several core principles of operations in a cloud native world. Applying these principles is an ongoing exercise influencing how we design, build, and run solutions. Blame-free culture with design thinking retrospectives. Embrace risk using service management techniques. Actively manage service levels, SLO, SLI, and SLA, which are important SRE concepts. Eliminate toil. The best part is no part. Build observable systems, establish standards, see service configurability, standardize databases, database schema, migration, and versioning tools. Automate everything. If you do it twice, automate it the third time. Build runbooks to standardize automation. Favor simplicity. All right, next principle is separation of concerns. One of the defining characteristics of a microservice is that it is autonomously developed, which requires that our architectures separate the design to allow multiple developers to work independently. Our interpretation of this is to separate our architectures into 3 different layers, a triplet that can be unit tested in isolation before being brought together for integration testing. Service boundaries should allow services to be deployed independently. Aside from service granularity, triplets can be thought of as a twist on the model view controller paradigm. When matched to the Agile learning career path specialties, the separation looks like this. The model data guild is responsible for stateful persistence at scale, data quality, referential integrity / distributed eventual consistency, data ingest and view normalization, defining clear value constraints, including uniqueness, defining clear cardinality constraints, data performance optimization. The view, design UI / UX and mobile guilds is responsible for user interactions, simple real-time computation, consumer of a single API, handles API errors gracefully, can mock APIs when required, input validation. The controller API guild is responsible for a stateless RESTful API, enforcing access control with bearer tokens, business logic, including advanced computation, neural algorithms, etc., complete validation of data, multi-field or complex validation constraints. Some validation will be duplicated or auto-generated based on JSON schema constraints. Some validation will only be done by API layer. Validation constraints at the data layer should be relaxed relative to the constraints enforced by the API. The operations SRE guild, CI/CD with Kubernetes, Helm, Argo, private Docker container registry, private dependency registries, PYPL, NPM, NuGet, Maven, dependency governments, open source service implementations, Keycloak identity service. So these are questions about to be answered later. The next principle is development contracts. Since we have separated our architecture into 3 layers, we need to define design contracts that developers can use to succinctly describe the interactions between the layers. The contract between the UI and API is expressed as an Open API Specification, OAS, sometimes known as Swagger. The contract between the controller and the model is a set of JSON schema and a schema versioning service that define the data structures for both the API and any ORM or data access libraries. A word about API design and the separation of user interaction and business logic. In general, the UI user interface should only implement the logic necessary to create a desirable user experience. Business logic should be present in the API or controller layer of the architecture. API design should keep in mind that the user of an API is the UI engineer, and the API should be designed to make the UI engineer's job as easy as possible. APIs should be designed to support as few calls as possible to support the user experience. APIs should also have the intelligence to interpret the data being provided, relieving the UI developer of almost all data-driven logic. APIs should always define meaningful default values and behaviors. The next principle is event-driven / messaging-enabled. The messaging-enabled application leverages an asynchronous service bus to facilitate loosely coupled integrations within a trusted domain. An event-driven architecture may use an event bus to publish and subscribe to events. However, in many agile architectures, the database will provide event delivery, allowing asynchronous eventual consistency to become, there's a typo there, a deployment decision rather than a design constraint. Data engineers frequently use service bus architectures to support publish / subscribe event platforms with both business systems and big data applications harvesting data from a single event stream. And there's a typo there as well. The next principle is service granularity. If a microservice architecture divides the application into microservices, one of the first questions that comes up is service granularity. In our opinion, that should say it is, another typo there. It's easy to get carried away and break an application into dozens of services or serverless functions when they would be better addressed with a single API on a single model. We start by breaking an application up into services that can be independently developed, tested, and deployed. We strive for services that are very simple and have one user interface that communicates with one API and uses one database. While not all solutions will use this pattern, deviations from this pattern should deserve extra consideration. When identifying bounded domains, there are a number of factors that can influence service size. Isolation of subsystems that have special security or performance requirements is one driving factor. Isolating identity services that have special data protection measures and isolation of personally identifiable information, PII, from access credentials is a best practice. Isolation of search use cases is another common division based on the impact of search on database performance and allows for optimization of data structures to support search. Integrations are a third common pattern for isolation based on avoiding runtime dependencies on external services. Another factor that will influence the granularity of services is the principle of independently developed, tested, and deployed components. If a problem space is large enough to require multiple developers to work on any component of that service, then that service is probably too large. All right, so the next principle is service configurability. Microservices are by nature small and should be viewed as bespoke components of the system. In general, it's best to minimize configuration options and the development, testing, and release complications associated with them. That being said, every service will have need of secret configuration values or other values that describe the environment the service is running in. Our services will always look to environment variables to provide this information. Services that want to support other configuration approaches are encouraged to use this hierarchy. That is, if the first is not found, move on to the second, and so forth. Discrete environment variable values, configuration options, discrete configuration files, secure secrets. Configuration options should be specified on container startup and managed by Kubernetes. Use of configuration options should be limited to required environmental values. Adding configuration options will require special consideration when designing, building, and running automated testing. So, a bit over my head there, but almost done here. 2 more principles left. All right, so the penultimate principle is service disposability. Service disposability has 2 very different meanings within an architecture. The first is pretty straightforward. In an orchestrated container environment, the developer should assume that the process will be stopped and started frequently, while the application and containers may in fact have rather long run life. The principle of fast start/stop operations is a key attribute of a service that can be orchestrated effectively. The second and more esoteric aspect of disposability has to do with the size of the service. The principle is that recreating a service from, and there's a typo there, it should say scratch, may be, another typo there, easier than untangling complex code written by a long gone developer. This principle has a direct impact on the autonomous development aspects of a microservice architecture and dovetails with the configurability principles. All right, and then the final principle is service observability. While the Docker environment itself can provide visibility into container resource utilization, memory, CPU, disk, and network, there are typically additional pieces of information that should be observable within the system. We have adopted a standard of implementing 2 standard endpoints that expose this additional information. The health endpoint is designed to provide information about the health of the service and follows the standard endpoint definition used by the Prometheus monitoring project. This will include information about the state of backing services, database, service bus, integration, endpoints, etc., as well as the performance of the services, usage, response time, etc. The config endpoint is designed to provide information about the service's configuration at runtime. This includes version and release information, non-secret connection data, get hashes, dependency information, or other information that describes the API that is running. The user interface should expose an admin page that displays the information from the config endpoint, as well as critical information about the UI, such as version number or configuration data used by the UI. All right, and those are the principles. You can see we've got empathy and persona, which is kind of interesting. But let's stick to the that might be the very next thing. So let's stick to the prerequisites. All right, so this looks kind of short. I think I can get this one out of the way for sure. We're at that hour mark where typically it's kind of hard for me to stay to make a video like this for longer than an hour. I'm sure I could do like a Pomodoro break, like a 15-minute break, and come back, but let's at the very least get this out of the way. So this is solution architecture. These diagrams utilize the Mermaid flowchart library. You may need to install an IDE plugin to preview these diagrams. The VS Code extension burner.markdown/mermaid is a good option. So that's a good point. This is meant to be viewed in VS Code, so let's do that. It's important to get this running in order to be able to contribute development to it. So let's open a new terminal. We're going to open a let's just open a command prompt from here. And we're going to do wasl --list, and then let's do wasl -d. Or let's do bash, because it should be the default. We'll do, yeah, and so now we've got Ubuntu there. I am doing another project, so let's do a cat etc os release. Okay, so good. My other project needs to be done on Debian, just a straight Debian core distribution, which I have got there. And we can see this one here. If we do a cat etc os release, this is Ubuntu, so perfect. This is where I've been doing the Agile Institute development. So let's open another instance of VS Code and trust all the authors. Okay, and then take a look at the terminal. And there we go. I've got a bunch of stuff in here, but if we go to Agile Institute, that's where I've been. That's where I've been developing. You know what? Let's clean this up a little bit. I feel like this Anki development, I don't want to get rid of that because that's making flashcards programmatically, which is something I want to do. You know what? I'll just move into the Agile Institute and do code out from here. There we go, and now I'm in this workspace.
Okay, so let's tidy up the space in here. So we're gonna do a git status. Okay, so it's not even a git repo, so we'll delete everything. So we'll do a rm dash r dash r. We'll not put the f in there, because if I'm doing something bad, it will, as we see, it will. But this is part of the code reviews, so yeah, let's remove that. Let's do a play BS. Oh, F. Okay, there we go. We'll do a sudo on it as well. Okay, there we go. So now we got all this clear. So this is the mentor hub. So let's pull it down and read it there and make sure that we can look at those mermaid charts. Okay, so here we've got Mentor Hub there. So let's take a look at what file we're on. Solution architecture. Architecture looks funny to me. No, looks good. So specifications and then architecture. Okay, and now I should be able to get the mermaid diagrams. If I can't, then I need a tool for that, but we can do, so if we click open preview to the side, we can see, oh, we're activating extensions here, so something is going wrong. Let's see if we got the mermaid. Ah, here we go. So this is the one I need. Okay, so it's activating extensions. I'm not sure how much time it needs to that. It looks like it's done, so let's try it again. Oh, so now it activates it again. Huh, interesting. Let's try reloading. So we can go to extensions. We can go I thought there was an option to reload. Alright, I guess there's not. Oh, it's right here. Refresh, yeah. But that just refreshes the extensions that show up. That shouldn't make a difference here, unfortunately. Oh, you know what? Okay, so it just took a while. Perfect. Now everything's good. So I can do the click of the mouse wheel. There we go. And now we've got, yep, so we've got the mermaid drawings working. That's just what I wanted to verify for now. But we'll just go from here. Oh, it looks like there's some links. So I wonder if the links will work. No. Well, yeah. So here's a link. Okay, so that takes me to online. Good. All right, so finishing reading about this. So these diagrams utilize the Mermaid flowchart library. You may need to install an IDE plugin to preview these diagrams. The VS Code extension Björner.markdown/mermaid is a good option. So microservices and source code repo. Bounded domains and eventually consistent data. Architecture.yaml has details. Domain source/sync configurations. A special note about the search domain. Integration domains use request sync/reply source. Collections to implement asynchronous functionality. The solution can scale databases along service domains, as each domain will be the source for one or few collections, and other domains can use an eventually consistent copy in a read-only fashion. So there we go. So we've got URL router. Now this is where it gets confusing for someone from a networking background. The URL router is kind of is quite a bit different of a thing. Okay, so it'll route you to these various spaces depending on what you need. Infrastructure. The following diagram identifies the cloud infrastructure used by the Mentor Hub platform. Note this is incomplete. And see configure automation for continuous deployment environments. Issue for details. Networking. Note this is incomplete. See the configure automation for continuous deployment environments. Issue for details. All right. Storage. This is incomplete. Continuous integration, incomplete. All right, and then continuous delivery. The Mentor Hub platform utilizes 4 release management environments. Following the 12-factor principles, the containers are built once and then promoted between environments by adding tags to the containers. Environments are provisioned with Terraform automation. Provisioning a new environment, for example, for training or sales purposes, is achieved with Terraform. Deploying code to this new environment only requires adding a new tag to the images you want to deploy. Dev. This is a cloud-hosted development environment. CI automation deploys new code directly into this environment. Backing services in this environment are based on containerized database resources which contain test data and can return to the known starting point, typo there, by redeploying the containers. All right, test. This is a cloud-hosted testing environment where end-to-end testing is done to assure the quality of the system before release. This environment also uses containerized backing databases to support automated testing. Once the SQA team determines that the new release has passed quality checks in this environment, it can be deployed into the staging environment. Stage, this is the final pre-production environment. In this environment, data from the production environment is replicated into the staging environment to test database migrations. One last QA check is done in this environment before deploying the release into production. Prod, this is the live production environment. So one thing I'm curious about, duck DNS, is that still a thing? Free dynamic DNS hosted. Sorry, this has just got me excited to try to pin up my own website. I was purchasing a domain name before, but it's just, even though it's little tiny, $10 a year, like death by 1,000 pricks, for something I don't use, ends up being problematic. All right, so that's the diagrams. So I read that whole thing. So checked off that prerequisite, and I've got the diagrams working in my integrated development environment here. So everything looks good. So the next one would be review the CI/CD configurations to understand how code is deployed. So this is a pretty short one, and again, I'm kind of dead at an hour. Let's try giving it a 15-minute break and coming back, Pomodoro method style. And I'll see if I can knock off this whole prerequisites section in this one video. So I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Alright, I'm back. So let's see if taking that Pomodoro style break means I can make this about a 2-hour video, hopefully, and finish the prerequisites section. So the next part of the prerequisites is CI/CD. So this is infrastructure and CI/CD overview. Repo structure standards have a /source/docker folder with the following files: docker-build.sh and Dockerfile. Docker-build.sh uses Docker build to create a single image targeted to the user's architecture. Multi-architecture images are created and pushed to our GitHub container registry by GitHub Actions CI. These GitHub Actions build and push containers with a latest tag. Dockerfile templates. See the docker-configurations folder for our master docker-compose YAML and typo there, templates for 2-stage Docker files. A note on versioning. All of the API and UI microservices use a semantic versioning approach with major and minor version numbers that are maintained by the developer. The patch portion of another mistake here, version number is automatically another spelling error generated by the Docker build and placed in a text file at a specific location for use by the code. All code should have observability for these version numbers to support incident response. Observability. See the service observability in our architecture principles document for observability standards. GitHub Docker Container Registry. We are using the GitHub Docker Container Registry. This article is helpful in mistake there, understanding that service. We are using the build and push Docker images action in, I feel like this is spelled wrong as well. Nope, that is right. Okay. In conjunction with the Docker file of each repo, we use automatic token authentication to access the registry. See here for details. Access checklist. Make sure that the CI GitHub Actions have the proper access to the registry. Image package is linked to the repository building the image in package settings. Connect the repo to the package page. Package access. Make sure the repository access is read-write or admin in package settings. Repository settings, actions, general workflow permissions, then select read and write. AWS Elastic Container Registry, and this is definitely spelled wrong. There's no E. Yeah. ECR. We need to update all of the CI to leverage ECR in place of the GitHub Container Registry. This will be required to address deployment to any of the AWS managed container services. Research. Installed AWS CLI. Read up on what is AWS CLI. Follow using ECR with AWS CLI tutorial. Use move image to ECR.sh script to move Mongo sh person-API person-UI search init images. Updated docker-compose.yaml to be ecr-compose.yaml with new image names. Tested with docker-compose-f with that command there, and looking at the person UI. This proved out that we can push images, and all of them are multi-platform images to ECR. I was confused for a while by the ECR terminology, but I now understand that this is spelled wrong as well, I think. Repository in ECR terms is a container image name with multiple tagged and missing a G there versions of that image. Once I understood that, I was able to create a small mistake here as well, small script to remove spelling error here as well, to move a container image from GHCR to ECR. Update. Created an IAM user for programmatic misspelling there as well. Access in the IAM console, not the IAM Identity Center. GitHub Actions ECR access. Attach the Amazon ECR to, or Amazon EC Elastic Compute to Container Registry Full Access Permissions policy to the IAM user. Generated access keys for programmatic access. I think that's probably a misspelling as well. Created GitHub, definitely misspelling here, secrets for GitHub Actions with AWS key ID / value. Read up on Amazon ECR login GitHub action and the configure AWS credentials documentation for parameters to use. Updated the actions docker-push.yaml file to use the new AWS values, tested and successfully built and pushed person-UI image. Another update, tied in knots about configuring permission sets, roles, groups, etc. I think I have it down. Added Amazon Elastic Container Registry public full access policy to the system administrator permission set. So here's the next steps. Move secrets to organization level, typo there. Move to a public ECR, which I think stands for Elastic Compute Registry. Or Elastic Container Registry, not compute. So it's yeah. All right, and then the last next step is to research best practices and consider role-based access. All right, so that brings me to the last part of the prerequisites, and I'll stop the video here and then do another one going over the rest of the Mentor Hub platform README, and then after that, you know, I'll have all of this ready to go, and then I'll make contributions. My goal will be to get on this list. All right, so the last part is the Mentor Hub Developers Edition. So this is going to be interactive. We're going to install it to run the system or any portion of it locally. So if you are a software engineer contributing to the Mentor Hub platform, or a software quality engineer, or just someone interested in running the Mentor Hub platform locally, you can install and use Mentor Hub Developers Edition. So the prerequisites, Mac OS or Linux. If you are a Windows user, follow the virtual machine or WSL instructions from Odin Foundation's installations lesson. Then you need Docker Desktop. You need Z Shell. You can install it for Linux. Okay, so I have all of those. I just don't have Z Shell. So let's start with that. Let's install Z Shell and set up some of the optimizations. So first thing we got to do is update the apt-get. There we go. oops, that's, didn't type that in correctly. There we go. Alright, so then actually installing it. Okay, and then we check the version. We should be probably newer than 5.8.1. We'll see how old this guide is. Oh, which services do we want restarted? Let's just restart them all, why not? So I'm not sure how to navigate. Oh, you can use the arrow keys. There we go, they're all restarted. Okay. So now we can check the version. Okay, 5.8.1, that's good, it's the same version. Okay, so now we need to configure it. So configuring it allows you to personalize it, upgrade the tab completion, which should be nice. Okay, so we can go to the main menu. We can populate it with the defaults, which we can change. We can create an empty one and do everything from scratch. Or we can put aside configuring it for the next time we start Z shell. So let's go ahead and press 2 to set up the default parameters. All right, and then we'll continue. Let's see what shell is the default shell. So the default shell is bash. We want to change that to the Z shell instead. So let's figure out where Z shell is. Oops. Look at this. So that's cool. You can do that all in one command. So you can use this command to convert output to input. So which SH will be standard output, but this command here accepts standard input. So you convert this from output to input, and there you go. Now we've got a bit of a problem here, though. It looks like okay, so so it looks like the shell didn't get changed. Okay, so we gotta log out and log back in. Okay. And now hopefully that default shell is set up. And it is not, so that's interesting. Huh.
Huh, I wonder if I'm missing a step because it's, Because it certainly didn't do that. It didn't change it for the... Okay. Well, let's ask ChatGPT. Oh, then my mouse isn't working. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna feed it this screenshot. We'll feed it another screenshot here. We'll say, and then we'll ask it, okay, so you can see in the screenshots I tried to change my default shell, but for some reason it didn't change over, it looks like. Yeah. So I need to close my terminal completely and then reopen it. So I guess I can close both of these instances here. And then we'll see which one. So this one opens up here. Now I hope it doesn't... Alright, that still looks good. Alright, so I think the next step, yeah, so let's do echo shell. Oh, okay, it worked. See? Okay, so, oh, let me get that back and then open a instance of, okay. Alright, so there we go. Ah, yep, so now this is the default shell, so now we can proceed from there. Okay, so now we're gonna install Oh My Z shell. So proceed with that. Okay. So we're gonna type yes here when that prompts. I don't see the option to type yes. Okay, so now we can pick out a theme, and then we can add the theme to a file. I'm not going to use Nano. I'm going to use VS Studio Code for my editor. There we go. So here's the theme I'm using now, is the Robbie Russell theme, but we've got plenty of other ones. So let's take a look at the Robbie Russell theme. So this is the default that Robbie Russell uses. And then all the rest of the themes. Yeah, I guess I don't see a reason to stray from the default. Let's have a chat with ChatGPT about that. So right now I'm just using the default Robbie Russell theme. Do you think that's good enough, or do you think is there like a consensus theme that's the best theme? Suggest a theme for me based on everything you know about me. Power level 10k. Oh, that's nice. It's gonna have information about Kubernetes directly in there. All right. Sure. Let's do it. So, okay. So that's how we can use a different one. We can also enable auto suggestions, which I think I will do. Okay. And then we have to edit the file, so I'm gonna do yep, so plugins equal, search for that. We've got two matches, one's just a comment. So plugins equal get, and then we'll add a plugin. All right, and then we need to save and restart. And now you can use the right arrow key to accept suggestions. We can also have syntax highlighting, which I think I'll enable. So let's do that. Clone the plugin repository. Add it to the plugins. All right. Restart it, and then there's instructions to uninstall it. So that looks good. Let's change the theme to the power. So ChatGPT is giving instructions for how to change the theme, but let's see if we can get the instructions here. So we want the power 10K, or what was it called? Power level 10K. I don't see it. All right, yeah, let's do power level 10K. So I'll just take directly what ChatGPT has recommended for me. So it's recommended that I do that, and then it's recommended that I add this to the theme. Okay, so we're gonna replace that. All right. And then, okay, so tell me more about how to... Okay, and then we'll do the configure here, and we'll do informative. Oops, got a problem here. Oh, I have to start a new terminal session, so I'll do that. Okay, there we go. So we see the terminal starting up. And look at that, really fast. Okay, so we'll do the, yep, that configure command. There we go, looks good. So configuration, does this look like a diamond? Yeah, it does, it does. Does this look like a lock? No, it doesn't. It looks like a question mark. Does this look like a lock? No, it looks like a question mark. So we've got lean, we've got classic, we've got rainbow, we've got pure. I like the rainbow. It really makes it clear what's going on. Oh, we'll definitely go with Unicode. Time, let's go with the 12-hour format for time. And then angled versus vertical. Let's go with vertical. It looks a little bit less cluttered. Now we can have flat, blurred, or sharp. I'm good with flat, although blurred is kind of interesting. The tails we can have blurred or sharp. I kind of like blurred tails. That looks kind of fun. Let's do blurred tails. Prompt height. Let's have 2 lines so that there's a header on everything. Prompt connection. Let's do a straight line. Prompt frame. No frame. Left. Right. Full frame. Let's do right. Connection and frame color. Dark is always good. So let's go with the darkest for that. Prompt spacing. Oh, I see. Do we want it compact or do we want a double space? I'm good with compact. Prompt flow. Let's go with fluent. Transient prompt. Let's do a no on that. Alright, let's go with the recommended. And then go with the recommended. And there we go. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. Cool. Alright. Alright, so we got that out of the way. So, well, what about the nerd font? Tell me more about... Like, you know what? I think it doesn't matter. Let's just move on. There's too much. Yeah, so getting distracted. Alright, so that's the Z shell, so I got that out of the way. So now we're going to actually install the developer edition of Mentor Hub itself. So let's do that. Yep, we can do that. That's good. Now, one thing to notice that's a little bit not so good, it looks like it doesn't tell you when the command starts. It tells you when you last got output from the shell. So I haven't been running this for 2 minutes, but it could give a false impression that that's the case. So we'll see what when it says how long it took, we'll see if that makes sense or if that seems a bit long. But anyways, that's going now. So so next is the use session. I need a bit of a break, so I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's see where we're at. So I guess this might take a while to set up here. So yep, just a few more things to do, and then I will end the video. So let's keep an eye on this as it works. And let me open up another shell because I think I have... so we'll open up another... we'll just hit the plus sign here. There we go. That opens up there. So yeah, we can see I've already got this Mentor Hub. pulled down. So let's get rid of that because that's not the development version. So okay, so now if I do an ls, we can see we've got it blank, and it'll be filled in once all this is complete. We should see if it's starting up any containers. Yeah, we can see that it's built the images, which is good. And then we'll see if it uses the images to build any containers. We'll see the containers showing up here. But as is, since we got the images, we can dive into that a little bit. So we can do so we could run the image builder container ourselves, but we'll just wait for it to build as a part of the installation. And there we go. We can see how long it took. It took 5 minutes. That seems about correct. We can see the time is off here. It says that it's... Oh, sorry. I was looking at the date. So, yeah, the time is correct. The date confused me. But, yeah, that seems like it was an accurate assessment of how long it took. About 5 minutes. And we can see... Oh, okay. Never mind. This just wraps around... okay, that looks good. Alright, so now it's saying that to restart the terminal and source your shell configuration file to use MH. Not sure how to do that. Okay, so we can add it to the path. We're going to add it to the Z shell path. And then we're going to kill the terminal, reopen it, and hopefully that's enough without having to reopen the entire thing. All right, so and we'll find out because we're going to use these commands here. So let's get the help. Oh, so command not found. So that wasn't enough. So. You know what? Okay, so command not found. Maybe I do need to. Let me just do a sanity check here and make sure I do have it. Okay, and then we'll do M and MH. Nope, still a problem. There's no command if config. So we can do a sudo apt-get install ifconfig. That should be fine. Typically, we don't have it. Okay, so yeah, typically newer systems don't have ifconfig. It's IP has replaced ifconfig. So so yeah, unfortunately this this command here doesn't work. So let's do this next one. Okay, so there we go. We'll allow the Docker desktop backend to do stuff. Awesome. Okay, then we can stop it. All right, now we can start it. Okay, and then we can do this down, and what this down should do is bring down all of these containers. Yeah, see how they disappeared? That's what the down did. And conversely, the up will bring the containers up. Yeah, we notice like not all of them started. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It seems a bit problematic. One of these just exited, so I'm not sure. Looks like this one here isn't starting, so that could be a problem. This is probably the one that exited, since it's Mongo MSM1. Yeah, so that's the one that exited without starting, so not sure what's going on with that. Okay, well, I wonder if the MH start would make a difference. Okay, so that actually got me back to a similar state, or actually a bit of a worse state. So we'll do that MH down again. Alright, so next is troubleshooting. So install fails with the following errors. Didn't fail for me. Didn't fail for me. So that all works. So that's it for the prerequisites. So I am now set up and ready to go when it comes to contributing to this open source project. I've got everything all set. I might even be able to, because this is the person UI, so it probably opens up a port. No, I thought it would open up a port and then I could go into that port, but I mean I could go on the attach a shell to these. And now I'm on these containers. So we can do an ls on this one. But yeah, not necessary. So let's do an MH down. Bring down these containers. And that's it. That's the end of the video. So thanks for watching. And the next video, I'll read the software engineering workflow. Then the software quality workflow. And everything else. It should be pretty easy. It looks like there's not links to other pages for these other ones, so it should be a lot quicker. And then I actually am assigned a PR, so I'll make sure that's a part of my workflow on the and then I will review that PR. So that's the next video. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.